Hi guys. So after yesterday's Jared Kushner grand tableau, I got kind of excited about the possibilities, and I went back to basically like when I was thinking of who to do next, what to focus on next. I feel like there's so much tension, and someone had mentioned a little while back, had asked if I could redo the main characters or if it was time for an update, and I thought of Ivanka for some reason. And then I thought, oh, should I do Ivanka or Don Jr.? Because I've done enough on Ivanka. And then I thought, you know what? Actually, they're all related. And since she's also related to Jared, right, in the sense that whatever happens to Jared affects her, and she actually works in the White House, right? She has just as much of a job as Jared. Then I think because of the nature of the grand tableau, it would be interesting to put all of them together in one reading, meaning Ivanka, Jared, Dawn, Eric, right? Because it's the family. The whole thing here really is that the investigation obviously is going to look into the president, but then his family is his business, and his family is in the White House. So we can't really ignore the all everybody. And since Mueller is supposedly going to indict Don Jr. at some point, we really have to look into it. And I think the real benefit of this sort of reading, although I still think it is very complicated for people we don't know very much about. I know for me, it's a bit of a challenge for private people, but if I don't know, if it's starting off with the grand tableau alone, but when you have several characters, I think it's it can be really, really helpful and perfect for this. Okay, so anyway, so that's what I decided to do. The question really was Ivanka Trump, the Trump family, and the basically the Trump business as a result. Okay, Trump, Ivanka Trump and Trump family as a result of the Mueller investigation. Okay, so you're seeing here the cards. There are 36 cards in the deck, the Lenormand deck, and you can see that 6 of them have been predetermined before I shuffle the cards. So what I do is I pull out these cards and I say aloud, this is so and so, that's so and so, and so I chose those, and then I put them one by one back into the deck and shuffle again, and so they come out. Okay, however they come out, it determines the content of the reading. So these are the 6 characters, and let me show you if this is the first video we watch of the grand tableau. Let me just quickly show you here what it means, basically the structure. Okay, so there's these gray little card slots are related to the houses, because in the grand tableau you have houses for every position, and these houses are fixed, and the houses are based on the numbering and the nature of the cards, the full card deck itself. Okay, so the position 1 refers to card number 1, the writer, and it refers to news. And the position 2 refers to opportunities, and it's about the opportunities related to card number 2. So whatever falls into it falls into the context of this position, a little bit like astrology and houses. So I just wanted to show you this without any cards, because I got one question yesterday asking if I had made a mistake because the text didn't match. Well, it's not supposed to match because the house and the card that's on top of it are not there. Sometimes there are coincidences where the house matches the card that's on top of it. Most of the time it does not. So that's how it looks before the cards are placed on top of it. Obviously, I do the reading not on the computer, and then I just look at the positions as the cards come out, and I find the digital version of the card and I place on top of it. Okay, so let me show you finally the actual grand tableau for Ivanka here, Ivanka Trump and the Trump family. All right, so having done the introduction, let's look at how I organized graphically the cards. So I circled in red all the cards that are related to the people I have just described, and in green the cards that are related to this issue. Okay, it basically, it's also a personal reminder that I should look at these cards and talk about them. Okay, and as you have seen with the last reading, what I end up doing most of the time, there are several techniques to read the grand tableau, and this is not a lesson on the grand tableau. It's just how I have been reading it. And one thing I've been doing a lot is this technique where you find a card of interest and then you look at the house, and you once you discuss the card and the house it's in, you move on to the actual card of the house you're in. So let's say if I started at number one, let's say card the moon is at number one rider. So after I talk about this card, the next step is to find the actual rider card, and let's see here where it is. It is at position 16, and then talk about it, and then so on and so forth, and then find card star for where the rider is, and then talk about it. So that's how it goes. Okay, so let's get started. And so I thought this was really very interesting to do this for Ivanka. And before I started, I didn't pay a lot of attention to the timing issue, because I am a little bit skeptical of the timing. And I thought, oh, Ivanka, maybe 6 months. Let's do 6 months with her, because she doesn't feel as urgent as the others. So it's kind of roughly 6 months, but I'd say it's pretty loose. So that means wherever she is, which is she's at the column. Oh, let me show you. Okay, let me show you this one thing I did. Hold on a sec. Here, I created these little things so I can show you here where she is. See this column here. Okay, this is where she is, Ivanka. All right. So anyway, so here you can see that she's in this column, and this column would then represent the present, because whatever the main significator is where the present is. So if we go like this, then I would say that if it's 6 months, I'd say May of 2018 would be here. So whatever falls between so let's divide the time. It would probably be about 6 weeks per column. Okay. And whatever comes before, I don't think the timing really matters, because whatever is here to the left, see here, yeah, whatever's to the left here is the past, basically. Okay. All right. So that's where we located Ivanka. And then 1 second here. Yeah, so oops, yeah, so here's Ivanka. And then I wanted to point out a few things about several other cards that I thought before we even start the reading that are I think very interesting and very important. Okay, so moving on from Ivanka, I want to look at here. You see, this is super interesting because this is Bob Mueller, right? I said the dog is Bob Mueller, and he happens to be in the exact same position as he was for the reading on Jared. And I wanted to clarify also that I did reading for Jared, and then I did a few others using Lenormand cards. So it's not as if I hadn't shuffled. I shuffled a lot, and I used it before. So sometimes I'm like, oh wow, like what does this mean? Okay, so that's pretty interesting. Okay, that's very relevant, because he's on top also. And so the cards that are on top, there's another, I'm now kind of getting excited about these little rectangle things, because it's a good way to show where the focus is. Okay, so the cards that are on top here, the top row, indicate control. Basically, if you think of a position, let's say a mountain, right? Whoever's on top of the mountain has more control and can see the situation better than the people who are at the bottom. Okay, so we can see here that Bob Mueller is the only person card on top. So in a way, he has a view of the whole tableau, right? The whole circumstance. And if we look at where Ivanka is, when the significator is at the bottom, that means the person is feeling the weight of everything that's happening, and it's metaphorically bearing them, right? It's putting the weight on their shoulders, okay? All right, so also I wanted to bring your attention to going back up there in the second column. We have here the two brothers next to each other, Don Jr. and Eric, okay? And that's pretty interesting, I believe. And you could see here that right here in our position 16, Don Jr. is right below Mueller. So Mueller is affecting him very strongly, okay? And then right here, right below them, we can see Jared Kushner again, okay? All right, so we know those people. And here is Dotard, aka President Trump, in this position, okay? And that's that. Okay, so now moving on to some important elements of this reading, looking at the bigger picture still. There are two ways to talk about it, okay? Actually, you know what? Let's think about 3 ways to have a quick feel for the reading. So there's a technique called basically looking at the 4 corners and getting basically a summary of the reading. So we'll look at here the moon and the rider position. So it means that it's about the position in the world, right? The moon is about reputation, position in the world. And then here we have the clouds in the bouquet position. So whatever gift or big luck or happiness they had is under clouds. So there's problems there. And then because of these problems, there's an ending, right? The coffin. Now, what's very significant about this position, and I'll talk about it more, is that the coffin is at the cross position. So the coffin obviously means an ending. I've talked about this before, but it's not only it's in the last position of the reading, it's also in the position of the bad karma, bad luck, basically hardships, okay, and guilt in the context of the Russian investigation, as we've talked about. So that's significant. And then we have here the tree, which is about health and growth, and we have the man in the man position, okay? Now I've shifted. Normally there's a different card, and the 25 card is, there are different cards in these positions, but since I shifted a little bit how the cards are layered, I think it still applies the corners, okay? So going back to these 4, we have the reputation, their plot, basically the cloud and the moon, their problems with their reputation, their position in the world, and because of these problems, their position in the world comes to an ending. And right, so here we have writer, position in the world, has problems, is under clouds. There's an ending, and because of guilt or through guilt, and there's also an ending to the growth, right? An ending to the tree, to the growth, and to their life, because tree really means life in the end, right? So then the growth to their reputation and their placement in the world, their status in the world is stalled, okay? So that's technique number 1, okay? So another technique that is important to look at is the last. It's called the essential line. And in other readings, when you have that setup that is about the it's the 4 rows of 8 and then the last row of 4, this would be the last row of 4. So looking at here, these 4 cards, they tell the story here. And so it's saying basically, not to get into too much detail, it's basically about this. The key here, the main point is this business deal and all these interconnections that they have among their, basically business deals with people who value what they value, right? The heart. And you could see here that the heart card is in the big money position. So what they really value is money. And what is long term is the tower. Now, this is an interesting thing here because the tower, Lenormand Tower, means corporation, it means prison, it means government at large. Okay, so to me, in this particular position, because we're discussing the main topic of the reading is the Trump family, I believe that it could mean both prison and their business. Okay, so it could say the business dealings with people of like-minded people who have money or have something to do with money leads them either to, because you see anchor, so permanent, something permanent, leads them to prison and an ending. An ending to their, it could also be it leads to an ending to the of their business. Okay, so the coffin is right next to the business. So there's I think both actually apply in this case. Although I tend to think that in many ways it's much more about, well, I guess it's about both, right? It's about the law and it's about their business. But because the heart is right next to it, to the tower, I would think that it's their business. But at the same time, because it comes to, yes, I think, you know what, it's probably their business because to an ending, the government's not going to come to an ending, but you know what I mean? The law is not going to come to an ending, but their business will. So that's really, that's what's very clear, but I still can't let go of the undertone of the law associated with this card, okay? So that's that we have this summary, and then the last and very relevant summary here are the three cards. That's basically, these are, I think of this as the trigger summary, right? So what triggered this reading? What is on top of mind regarding this reading? So let's see if I can zoom here 1 second. Let's focus on these. Okay, wow, that's crazy. That's so good. It's amazing. Wow, the level of detail and the fact that you can see things so closely. Okay, so we can see here that the first three cards, the moon, the bird, and the house, the moon refers to reputation in the world, and it's news about what really comes first is their reputation in the world, their standing in the world. And what's happening to his reputation? There's gossip, or it's being talked about. And how is it being talked about? It's being talked about because or through the White House. And you can see that the conversation or the gossip, it's under the opportunity house, which is, so I guess it's okay, but it's interesting that it's an opportunity for gossip, right? So their reputation in the world is an opportunity for a lot of talk in the country. And then you can see that the house is placed in the ship house. So that means that White House is literally influenced by the foreign government in some way. So that's the tone. So opportunity, so basically their reputation in the world causes a lot of, you could say causes controversy or talk because of the foreign influence in the White House. So moving back, let me show you something here that I think is also relevant to what we are talking about here, is that if we extend this further, okay, and include the fourth card, and it's something I wanted to talk about too, because in the last reading when I talked about Jared, I only remember this towards the end and it was too late, and I don't want to talk about it now because it's super important. You could see that the house here is, obviously the house is here, and this is the position of the house, okay? But what is on top of the house? Look, it's the election card. I sometimes forget that in the Russia-related readings, the crossroads card actually is election. So the house election, the election related to the White House, right? So this changes the meaning substantially, I think. And it reverts back to what we think, right? Because the whole problem with this administration is that we think in a way or another this election may not be legitimate. So that's really the core of the issue here. Okay, so again, conversation about their reputation is really in the limelight because there's an opportunity for a lot of talk. People are talking and almost like screaming over it because the house has foreign influence and the election happened because of the foreign influence in the house, right? So that summarizes things a bit. Okay, So going backwards a little bit. So, all right, so here we are. All right, so we looked at these positions that are about the general tone of the reading. So let's get into the specifics of the scenes that relate to these characters, okay? I'm just going to get a little bit of coffee. And, okay, so, all right. So let's look at, so it's interesting because when like I said, I wanted to look at Ivanka. But I thought, like I said, there's so many, she's involved in so many things with all of them. She's not a single actor, like, for example, let's say, I don't know, Bannon is, or obviously the whole thing involves many people, but she clearly plays a part in the family. So let me look at that. Now, one thing that I wanted to talk about first that I thought was even more relevant than Ivanka herself was this thing that came up right here, is the fact that Don Jr. is right below Bob Mueller. Okay. So we looked at yesterday the thing about Jared, right? Jared was, Bob Mueller was like right next to Jared. Jared was right before him. And now we see that we are at the present here, right, with Ivanka. Ivanka's here and they are here. Okay. So we basically what we're saying that what I think is that there has more to happen before they get to Don Jr., but he's definitely a target, okay? And let's look at this. This is like super interesting. Let's look at this whole row because it's a great starting point for the conversation. So we can see here that position 7, 16, 25, and 34. So we have, starting with Bob Mueller. We have Bob Mueller at position 7, the snake. Position 7, the snake means enemies and problems in general. So he is a problem for the Trumps, obviously, and he's their enemy, which makes a lot of sense. And he's been in this position since the last reading, okay? So what is below him, meaning what is going to really affect Don Jr., right? I'm sorry, Don Jr. So is below him. So that means Mueller will affect Don Jr. And how will he affect Don Jr.? Through, what do we have here? The scythe. So he's going to cut him in some way. He's going to create a sudden ending for Don Jr. through something he cares about. I think here refers to Don Jr. 16. So Bob Mueller affecting Don Jr. by cutting him off or creating an ending in his life through things he cares about. And we can see here that what is the scythe cutting, right? What is it affecting? It's affecting the ring. It's on the house of the ring. And the ring is about business and personal relationships or business deals, okay? So then through the heart, the things their values or what they care about. And what are their values and they care about? Where is the house? 34 fish. So it's saying that they care about money. That's their values, okay? All right, so that's significant. That's the fate of Don Jr. sealed pretty much there at first, okay? So now let's look at one. I wanted to talk about something, since I think this scythe is a very important card for us to look at because it activates so much, right, of their fate. And let's look here at, let's both box the scythe to see what it's cutting and then follow it in that other method I've talked about where you jump from card to house. Okay, so the scythe is right here. Let's see if I can do this so we can look at it closer. Okay, so the scythe is right here in the center, you can see. Okay, and so what led to this cutting? We can see here this. Oh my God, I remember yesterday. I laid these cards before, and I was like, I love this so much. So what is the sun doing? The sun is in the position of the bear. What is the bear? The bear means the boss. It's the basic card for finances, personal finances, and finances in general. Okay, so they are looking at their finances, the finances of the Trump family, and right below it we have here the key. It's saying that looking at finances is key for the investigation, and that their finances is at the heart of them, at the heart of the matter. And as we talked about just now, the heart here is in the position of fish. So knowing that they really care about large quantities of money, because in terms of the money cards, we have the bear, which is the card of personal finances in general, and the fish means large quantities of money, sort of like investments, large investments, money like that, like big chunks, like deals, those kinds of things. That's fish. So it's saying here that the heart of the matter he is key, and that the heart really is about large quantities of money. So you're looking at the key to this cutting is because there was more scrutiny into their finances, and their finances are at the core for who they are, and this is like super, because these cards are all related. Okay, it's like right here. So how they do that is they look at their business deals, and look at how, oh my god, this is like so fantastic, because these four cards here, let me just show you quickly, are all interrelated. Okay, because we see here that the ring, the scythe, the cutting is done at the house of the ring, and the ring is the position of business deals. And look at where's the card, the ring, right here. So their business deals, it's saying, just by going this alone, right, that the business deals are key to this investigation. And let's find the card key. Where's the card key? Right here. And what is the key to the investigation? Their heart, what they care about. And what do they care about? They care about large quantities of money. So right there we have it nailed. It's all about money, and they're looking at it, and because they're looking at it, this will lead to serious problems for them. Okay, so we have here this, we looked at this first column. Now the second column is news about this cutting, and cutting something they really care about. Now, before I started the reading, I established that this is not random news. This is a person, and that's Don Jr. And what do we have here in the future position in terms of this? We have two more people. We have Eric Trump and Jared. Okay, now it's interesting to look at, because I thought, who is the Trump family in terms of the business? Eric Trump, and even though Eric Trump is not part of the government, and I don't think he was ever really involved in the campaign, he is part of the family, and he is part of the business. So whatever happens to him, let's say that he committed some sort of crime in terms of business dealings, he's still he's still part of the family business. So he affects the outcome for them as well. So okay. Anyway, so here's him. Here's Jared, and here's the anchor at the end. So here I think it could mean both. Like I said, I'm not totally sold on either. I mean, I know it's definitely relates to their family business, but it also relates to, this looks like not necessarily prison, but like I said, I see this in this particular question of the Trump family business and the children as their family business here, but also as like a kind of like a perfume of law, right? The law and the Department of Law and so forth, those kinds of things. So if you look at the diagonals here, it's saying that it cuts the business, right? Because it's also the scythe is pointing this direction. So it cuts all of these people. It cuts him. It cuts these two guys, and it cuts the business. So these are all the consequences. Like what's going to be cut? Like what's going to affect them negatively? Okay. All right. So let's move back a little bit and look at the full picture again. Okay. 1 second. Okay, so here we are back at the full picture. Now, we looked at what's cutting and what's being affected by them. Now, let's look at, let's go back to Mueller just 1 second, because I want to show you something. I think it's also relevant to this money. Since we discussed a lot of it, seems like there's a lot of money issues here. So here's Mueller, right? We said he's in the enemy position, creating problems for them. And right next to it, look at what we have. We have the coffin and the bear. And like I said, the bear is a card of finances, okay? The basic card for finances. And what house is it in? It's in the coffin house, okay? So that means endings. So if we look at that, let's start on that technique that I use when we look at the house and then we find the card that corresponds to this house. So let's look at, so there's an ending to finance or something financial for them, transformation or ending. And let's look at the coffin. Where is it? There it is. Okay, so let's look into this with more detail. Okay, so we have here the cross position. The coffin is in the cross position, which means basically that not only there's an ending, but there's an ending in a very kind of karmic and harsh way. Okay, and if we look at here, like I said, the cross in the context of the Russian readings has a lot to do with guilt. So it's an ending also because they're guilty ultimately. And so let's find the card, the cross, and where it leads to. Okay, so there's an ending because of this. Okay, so they're guilty and it comes to an ending. So let's find the cross card. The cross card is in the dog position, which is very interesting because, as I have just discussed, who's the dog? The dog is Mueller. Okay, so Mueller is definitely related to their ending, because if we go just by the card alone, looking for Mueller's dog, and where's the dog in the, is right here. So Mueller determines their guilt and causes an ending to their finances or financial dealings. Okay, and if we remember the financial theme here, we have the bear in the ending transition position, and where's the bear house, and what's on top of it? It's the sun right here. So we can see that the financial issue is being looked at, and because it's being looked at, there's the coffin, so there's an ending, and like I said, then if you cycle back in, everything makes sense. So there's an ending, and where's the coffin? The coffin is at the guilt, hard karma. So there's an ending to financial issues because they're guilty. And who and what are the circumstances of their guilt? Bob Mueller. Bob Mueller determines that they're guilty. Okay. All right. So harking back here at the position of the snake, let's look again at where is the snake, since we've been talking about her for quite a while now. So where's the snake? The snake is here at the position 31, the sun. And now let's look at this here, right here. It's very important. Okay, now. So it's interesting because Ivanka, I remember very well that when I did a reading on her, she, on one of those big readings I did before, she was the snake. So again, it's confirming that she's a snake. So now so let's look at a few things. So the reputation. So the question was about Ivanka and the Trump family and her reputation. Okay, so if you recall, the moon card is at the very beginning. It means position in the world. So what's her position in the world? Okay, it basically means that she is a facade, or she is the position in the world, and it's her position in the world that's being affected. And because, let's look at this. So she is a snake to someone, or I believe this is her, really. This is a quality that she has. Now let's look at the sun. What's the sun looking at? Because the snake is in the sun position. The sun position is the finances. So it really, there's no escape to the money issue being there, ending, and somehow, okay? And that because there's greater scrutiny here, then there's something is going to happen to her, okay? I think. Now let's look at other elements here, and elements here that I think are important to the investigation in general and to her position. No, I haven't done it. 1 second here. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, anyway, so I just want to show you this diagonal. Oh, I can do this like this. Okay, so I want to show you this diagonal here that goes from the dog, because another way to look at things is diagonals, things that are indirect, okay? So here, okay, let's extend this like this. Okay, so you can see that the snake forms a direct line to the dog. Okay, so I think this is significant, and this raises a question that I don't know that I have an answer to, but I want to talk about it. So we have here Bob Mueller at top, and she's at the bottom as the snake. And you can see that there's obviously a relationship between the fact that he's in the position of the snake, and the snake is right here, and the snake is in the position of sun, and that the money, the snake shows up because they're looking at the financial situation. Okay, so I wanted to show you here the anchor card, okay, because for some reason, because there's this indirect relationship, and right here you have the key too. Something, I don't, for some reason I feel like, I wonder if there's a possibility she could be collaborating with him already, if she could be a source of something, just because as you know, position, it's not just a kind of a pop culture element of like, oh, who's the snake, what is the snake, but it's also because there's a distinct possibility now that we have seen that Mueller almost basically made Michael Flynn talk, right? I mean, not made, he made him like wear wires or something like that. Who knows if he's already like using, because the anchor card is also a card of work, of being. Remember, I've said this before in terms of spying, like that she could be a stan or whatever, right? Could be a, it's informant. I'm not sure it's correct to say, but it's something like she is. I don't know. Something about it. Okay, it just could be that it could be part of her job, or she could be working on that behalf somehow. Okay, so just putting out there. I don't think this is really conclusive. It's just that it's here and I can't ignore it. Okay, so I know it's been 37 minutes. Let me stop this for a second and then go back to this to a second part to finish all the other relevant cards, okay? Because there's still a lot to talk about. All right. Okay. Bye. Until see you on part 2.